in the last few years, we have seen a plethora of new directors hit the horror stage and take the mantle, or at least start to compete for the mantle of top horror director. I'm talking about people like Ari Aster, Jennifer Kent, Jordan Peele, Roger Edgers. I'm just gonna say Edgers. But the question that we're asking
Robbie
today,
Egghead.
the question that we're asking today is, who are some non-horror directors that we think would make great horror cinema?
Also, quick shout out to another horror director that's been in the game for a little bit, but still making great impact. Your boy Guillermo del Toro.
He's fantastic.
I just wanted to jump that in.
Yeah, no, I mean, with the Oscar-winning, director Guillermo del Toro, nobody knows about him. Small name.
Sorry for wanting to shout out my boy.
I do love him. I have his Funko. I don't, but I really want him.
We picked 3 directors who have not made a horror film, although I will say some of them, at times, can feel pretty horrifying, that we think would make some great horror flicks. David, This is in no particular order. Let's just kind of talk about them. Who you got on the roster?
You want me to kick off the list?
Yeah.
You want me to kick off the list?
Spicy. Give me a spicy pick.
This is actually my least spicy pick. I want to lead off with the most probably cliche answer, biggest name director on my list, and that's Quentin Tarantino. I think his style of directing and writing would make for an absolutely wild ride horror film, whether it be slasher, whether it be psychological, whether it be zombie film. I think Tarantino has such... I think horror is a genre that has such a history to it, right? And like so many cliches into it that Tarantino would be able to take all that, because he knows cinema so well, and make something along the lines of like a Shaun of the Dead, where it's so like intertwined into the history of zombies.
Yeah.
I think you could do that for any genre.
An absolute banger of a slasher film.
Yeah, plus it'd be gory as hell, and that'd be pretty cool.
True.
I think he'd have fun. I think he'd have a blast. I
think he would enjoy himself. Now, sometimes with horror movies, you want it to really crawl under your skin, really get into the bones inside of you.
Marrow.
You want something that's not just going to be a mind fuck, but potentially also a butt fuck. Gaspar Noé would make the most insane, crazy, trippy, hallucinatory horror film ever imagined. If you take a look at something like Climax, that almost plays like a horror film, even though it's just a psychological thriller, Gaspar Noé has not only the technical skill to bring something both that is a visual feast as well as atmospheric storytelling, but also really, really pushes boundaries on like shock culture and what is considered okay and acceptable in a way that is not too, it doesn't, for some people, I think it can definitely feel a little full of himself, but for me, it's that perfect balance between prodding you forward and pulling you in. And I think, given that with horror, I think it would be unlike any other horror movie we've ever seen. I don't even know what type of horror movie it would be. All I know is it would fucking destroy me.
Dare I say I would be slightly scared to see that movie.
Oh, yeah, no. This is one that it? Here's the thing. He's my pick that I actually kind of don't want to make a horror movie. Because I think he'd be maybe too good.
Ethan, my number 2 is a movie that is a director who I think has such a good grasp on making movies already that are mentally and emotionally destructive. And I think that when you're making a horror film, being able to tap into real emotions adds so many more levels and layers to them that you get like a 40 layer bean dip, okay? It's a fucking thick dip right there. Okay, it's not just jump scares and gore and stuff, but it's adding those extra layers of emotional destruction. And a director who I think is a master at this, because he has done it in just drama films that are absolutely horrifying by themselves, is Charlie Kaufman, recent director of I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which was a terrifying movie to watch that was just about life. I think if he ever did a horror movie, I don't think he would. But if he did, I think it would be fucking brutal. I think it would be one of those kind of movies that sits with you for like a week, 2 weeks, and just eats you from the inside out. It's going to go Hannibal Lecter on your ass, but it's going to be from the inside. That's my number 2, Ethan. What's your number 2?
I love movies that are haunting in their own right. Things that kind of stick and linger with you, that kind of leave this emotional weight atop of you. This kind of ever-present sense of dread. And I think one of the people that does that so well with such restraint and control, Lynn Ramsey.
Ooh!
If you take a look at something like You Were Never Really Here, those moments of violence that are so cold and calm, and that's where the kind of that stillness is what brings in the true horror of it. Imagine Lynn Ramsey fully playing in, going full tilt into horror. Would be absolutely devastating. Terrifying. For every single person that watched it.
Okay, you know what? I think what we should do. What subgenre do you think Lynn Ramsey would excel the most with?
I think it has to be something a little more grounded.
Okay. Are we talking about like a Tremors 3 Frozen Tundra?
No, that's very much ungrounded. They got out of the ground.
No, but that's in the ground. I didn't... Wait, did you see Frozen Tundra?
I've seen every movie with worms in it. Go ahead. List them all. How to eat fried worms.
Fuck, it's actually...
That's it.
Tremors, A Cold Day in Hell.
No, it's just those 3.
Sorry.
I don't know. I think like some paranormal stuff can work, like hauntings, right? But I think a lot of that would be a lot more of a psychological horror.
Totally.
Regardless of exactly the form it takes, it is a form that will haunt me forever.
The form of the mold is the mold that will haunt me for the rest of my life.
You started it saying it's when you started that, it sounded like you were going to say something profound. And then just kind of words came out. So how about the next words are in fact a director's name?
My number 3, Ethan, is a duo. Dare I say a pair?
Same thing.
Dare I say some brothers?
You dare.
The Safdie brothers. These 2 directors have made movies such as Uncut Gems and Good Time, which were some of the most stress-inducing, dare I say claustrophobic films of the last 5 years. They had me dripping sweat while sitting in a leather seat. Now, maybe that was just the leather seat, but I think it was the movie I was watching, because that typically doesn't happen. I think if these 2 handled like a zombie movie at the dawn of the outbreak, it would be terrifying. Watching your characters deal with stuff, gather supplies, while also like having to deal with like the zombies on the outside of the windows. Do they see them? Don't they? I think it'd be terrifying. You know who'd do really good in this position is Robert Pattinson in a tracksuit, because he's gonna be running a lot.
Oh, that's fun. David, I saved a real spooky man who I would honestly, I think his movies veer as close to horror as you can without technically being a horror film.
Who you got for me?
Yorgos Lanthimos.
The next words out of your mouth, I want to be a director's name.
They were. Don't worry. I'm ahead of you, baby. Yorgos Lanthimos films, specifically the one I want to kind of hone in on, is The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Ooh.
It gives you so much. The fact that this man can make you feel absolutely disgusted and like trembling just watching a boy eat spaghetti. Unreal. His balance of tension and terror and this kind of otherworldliness. All of his framing is so kind of just a little off. So you always feel just a little too tall for each frame, or a little too cramped for every single long take. And you get these really intense and brutal sequences that are done so still and calmly. Think about the ending sequence of the killing of a sacred deer. Do you remember that, like, your fucking throat, your heart, and your fucking ding dong were like 6 feet under your feet? It was so far down.
Still
it,
are.
Like, makes you shrink down and shrivel just trying to, like, protect your own body, soul, and mind. And if he was actually, like, going at the whole height of his power, David, I think people would die.
Yeah.
IRL. This man could kill you.
And that's not even talking about Dogtooth.
Okay. That felt like such a dramatic, like, well, bam. Do you have a non-horror director that you think would make a fantastic horror movie? Let us know in the comments, or you can email us futurecastquestions@gmail.com. Let us know. If you like that mini episode about non-horror directors who would make great horror flicks, we got more mini episodes over in this box. Over on the other box is snippets from our main monthly show. Click either one and you'll hear great content. If you want to click both of them but don't know how to move your mouse and split it, go right in the center where there's this little circle that'll subscribe for you.